Good morning, YouTube. Today, I'm going to review a 2013 Ferrari California 30.
Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
If you're new to the channel, my name is Dan, and this is my garage, and usually we're talking about supercar ownership experience, so what it's like to actually own a supercar, maintenance, buying, selling, all that sort of stuff. And today, we're going to review this beautiful 2013 Ferrari California 30. It's owned by my friend Ed. As always, we have the shop dog Mo here to help us out. He's going to scour my garage, looking and smelling for leaves. Oh, and apparently scaring himself. Yes, that bucket is scary. You never know when it's going to just sit there. Good job, Mo. So the big question that everyone always asks about the Ferrari California is it a real Ferrari? The specs suggest that, yeah, it should be. So I'm really curious. I've never driven one of these, and I'm really curious to see how it handles and how it accelerates. The numbers suggest that it should be quite a good car. Let's see if the actual experience proves that to be correct. So let's start with what makes this Ferrari California so impressive. This is the same engine block that's in the Ferrari F430 and the 458. They actually have direct port injection. It's effectively closer to the F430 than the 458 because the 458, they ended up stroking the motor or boring it out or something, so it's actually 4.5 liters. And of course, this is actually a wet sump. It is not a dry sump. And you can tell that just by the way that they have to position the engine much higher in the car. So if you notice, this engine actually sits pretty high in the car, but it is actually a mid-front engine. So if you notice, here's the axle line and the engine is actually behind the axle. So that's pretty cool. Interesting enough, they also mounted the battery here in the front engine compartment. So yes, this is one of the things that people say is not a real Ferrari because it's a V8 front engine car. This is the first V8 front engine car that Ferrari ever made. Previously, all the front engine cars had been V12s. Just to keep up with Ferrari's tradition of performance, this actually is a high performing car. So even though it's a front engine, the transmission is in the rear, giving this actually a 47-53 weight distribution. So it's 47% in the front, 53% in the back. All of that means this car can actually scoot from 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. Yes, this is actually as fast 0 to 60 as the Ferrari F430, in part mostly due to the fact that it has the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. They improved the transmission substantially over the F430, but it does have less horsepower. So this only has 453 horsepower and 360 foot-pounds of torque, lower than the 490 horsepower in the F430 and the 560 horsepower in the 458. The California is a big car. It is a little bit longer than the 430 or 458. It is almost 1,000 pounds heavier, and that is one of the downsides of this car. It is a heavy car. A lot of that is due to the fact that it has a hardtop convertible roof, so that's a lot of weight to be adding to this car. It still has big carbon ceramic brakes. It even has Pirelli P0 tires on 20-inch wheels, so it actually does have some pretty beautiful wheels. Awesome braking abilities in this car. So the California actually came out in 2008. In 2013 and 2014, they had the California 30. So why is it called the California 30 and not just the California? Well, it's got 30 more horsepower and 30 kilograms less weight. Those of us that are in the US, that means 1 1/4 less Moseses. It's about 66 pounds of weight reduction. Did you find a leaf? Yeah, I bet you did. Probably eating that leaf, weren't you? Most of that weight reduction is because they changed the chassis design a little bit, so it's actually the same rigidity as before, but 30 pounds of less material. The top speed of this car is supposedly 194 miles an hour. Ed's car has the handling speciale package, which is basically some magnetic suspension or mag ride suspension. I think they actually call it the magnetohirological shock absorbers. That's the proper term for it. And you'll notice this is actually not Rosso Corsa. This is Rosso Maranello. So this is a very rare color. It is not one that you see very often. And it's actually a 3-layered paint that has this beautiful metallic color. We'll have to get it out in the sunshine in order to see it. Here in the garage, you can't really tell. It just kind of looks like a candy apple red in the garage. But once we get it out in the sunlight, you'll see it's a very pretty color. It's really intense. Of course, one of the other reasons that people think that the California is not a true Ferrari is because it is a 2+2 configurations. Yes, we do have some back seats, although I might be able to fit my hand between those two seats. Maybe if I scoot the seat all the way forward, I could fit. I don't know, what do you think? Let's give it a try. So we'll move the seat forward because I don't want to lose my feet. Can an adult fit in this rear seat? Okay. Whoa. So already it's pretty uncomfortable. My back is very upright. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Okay. Nope. Hold on. It started trying to kill me. No, don't kill me. Okay, there. All right, yeah, so I fit, but this sucks. This would be terrible. I am hugging this seat. I could move the seat a little bit further, but not much. All right, not exactly designed for adults. So one thing I did find kind of odd for a grand touring type of car, there is no cup holders, at least none that I can find. Yeah, this doesn't actually move. There is actually an ashtray. I guess this was still in the era where Ferrari was like, oh yes, everyone smokes. I just realized.
What? It has a cup holder! Look at that!
I didn't even notice that when I was doing mine. I said it has no cup holders. I was wrong. There is a cup holder.
Your people in your video are gonna be like, yeah, there is a cup holder!
Yeah, I know.
Horrible review! You missed the cup holder!
You don't know anything.
You don't know anything.
Dude, it's only on this side. There's none over there.
Well, yeah, there's only one in your car.
But now here's the best part. When you say that, you can then insert her shot saying, there is a cup holder.
Yeah.
True.
There is to a cup holder, Dan. Didn't you do your research? God. What are we doing here? God. You're not prepared for your work.
I even researched it for like 3 hours.
I researched it for nothing. I slept in till like 11.
Did you know that there were actually 3 Californias made with manual transmissions? Yeah, believe it or not, they actually had some manual transmissions. Of course, 3 of them. Obviously, they were all special ordered for very specific individuals. So one very unusual styling feature of the California is that the rear taillights, the blinkers, are not actually those. The blinkers are actually right there. And the reason is because that when Ferrari designed this car, they made this big, beautiful taillight. Then the federal law for the United States changed and said, basically, you cannot have the turn signal on a movable piece of the car's bodywork. So because this entire rear trunk lid moves with the convertible top, or when you pop the trunk, Ferrari had to scramble and said, okay, we'll throw the taillight down there. So there's the wonky positioning of the blinkers, which is just kind of strange. Obviously an unintentional design. This is the light they wanted to be, the turn signal, and then we're like, crap, what do we do? I know, throw it right there. What I find really funny is if you look at some of the other cars that have come out since this, Ferrari sets trends that other companies then follow. There are now some SUVs, for example, Hyundai has some SUVs that have the turn signals on the lower side and instead of having it in the upper taillight, which clearly was just them trying to say, hey, Ferrari did it, let's do it too. And it looks silly, it really does. I hate the turn signals being down there. You know what? They should sell a modification that makes it so that can be the actual turn signals. That would be a cool thing. I would totally want that. Another really interesting thing about this car is the trunk is very heavy. Oh yeah. And look at the size of that trunk lid. It is just massive. That's because you don't have a whole lot of trunk space. You have a lot of storage space for the lid. But you can increase the storage space when the roof is actually up. This piece right here moves and then you can actually get more stuff into the trunk. My lovely assistant Megan is going to demonstrate the convertible roof.
Oh, okay.
Ooh. Ah. Very cool. Ooh. That's a lot of stuff to move. There you go. So let's go take off a drive and see how well this handling is with the handling speciality package. Sorry, Mo, you're gonna have to stay here. Hey, Mo. Moses. Moses. Mo. Pay attention. Thank you. Hi. Hi. Actually sounds pretty good. That's a nice healthy growl to it. It's alright, it's a lot of intake noise, but it could use some more exhaust note. First thing I noticed is that the seating position and the steering wheel position is just a little bit different, a little bit more comfortable. It's definitely designed to be kind of more of a touring car. This is the first Ferrari I've ever been in where you release the brake pedal and it starts rolling forward like it was an automatic transmission. good sound. When the valves open up, it sounds really good. The problem with any of these cars that have the valves is that they egg you on to drive it harder. You want those valves to open, you want to hear that sound, and until you kind of give it a little bit of gas, it just is very tame, which I get it for a cruising grand tour, wonderful, but when you really want to have some fun, you kind of want those valves to be open. The infotainment center is a lot easier to use than it is in the 458 or the 430, which the 430 has crap. This one at least has a fairly modern touchscreen. Controls are pretty simple. They definitely made this to be a little bit easier designed and more friendly to the users, so I'm kind of glad about that. Give it a little gas here. Scoots pretty fast. We've got the dual clutch transmission, so shifting's very fast. I'm in 5th gear, we'll go down. It grabs pretty quick. It's a little bit slower than the 458's transmission on the downshifts, but not bad. Not bad at all. We're gonna go take out some fun roads and see how the handling is. Braking's good too. So you can feel the weight. I mean, it's a 4,100 something pound car. You can feel that when you start trying to push the corners. And when I was getting on the brakes, it's definitely a little bit slower to start grabbing the brakes hard just because of that extra weight. But it's not bad at all. This is really quite fun. I'm having fun for sure. Oh man, there's traffic up here. So the interesting thing is the Manettino only has 3 modes. It only has comfort, sport, and ESC off, or traction control off. So right now I'm in sport because we're playing a little bit. I'm gonna switch to comfort moment. So it's got that magnetic suspension. It should make quite a difference. And oh yeah, the suspension got way more compliant. I don't feel as many of the bumps in the road. So certainly if you're gonna do more of a tour and do a road trip in this car, that's kind of the mode you would want so you don't have any driver's fatigue. I will say the steering is a little bit too light for my taste. I like it to be a little bit heavier. Again, I think it's because it's supposed to be more of a grand touring car, not so much a sport car. Let's go back into sport mode though, because it's definitely more enjoyable that way. And the steering tightens up just the tiniest bit when you switch it over. You can feel it just have a little bit more weight, but definitely you feel a big difference in the suspension. It starts to feel the road a bit more. The body rolls less. You can feel the bumps more. It's definitely tightening up. Plenty of power, lots of power. It's a linear torque curve with this naturally aspirated engine, so you don't have any of that lag like you do in a turbo car. I would assume that the Cali T's, which have substantially more horsepower and are 0-60 times 0.2 seconds faster, you're gonna feel it. Obviously, you're gonna have that turbo torque kick in. There's plenty of power, certainly enough to get you around town. It's just quick enough. The braking's excellent. It doesn't squeak as much as mine does, even though it's still got the carbon ceramics. I think that's probably because mine's been tracked more. I'm really enjoying this car a lot more than it probably should. Having the convertible top is very nice on a beautiful day like today in Texas. It's like 70 degrees out. It's a little bit chilly this morning, but it's supposed to get up to the 70s. It's fantastic. This is what you want. Like, I get that not everyone wants a crazy sports car, 2-seat car that is just totally designed for speed at all costs. This is meant to be fast and fun, yet comfortable. And I could see, like, if you got a date and you want to take a date out, going out on a date in this car would be far easier to deal with than it would be in the 458. You know, you're not going to have the difficulty getting in and out because it sits just a little bit higher. Your seating position is a little bit more relaxed. You're not quite so raked out as you are in the 458. So overall, it just drives nice. The handling's great. I mean, the weight, I guess, is my biggest problem. I'm having a hard time with the weight because, like, you turn the wheel, it just takes that little extra moment for the car to react because it has so much extra weight. The same goes for the acceleration and braking. It just takes that little extra time for the weight to get moving in this car. If this car weighed 3,500 pounds, it would be substantially improved. Yes. Oh yeah. So it's just not as tight as the 458. You know, there's a little bit more body roll in these corners when you're really trying to play. It just takes that little extra oomph to get going, but it's still really fun. It's absolutely ridiculously fun. And here's the best part about this car. Give it some go juice again. So here's the best part about this car. On the used market, you can pick up California's easily under $100,000. In fact, I saw them as cheap as like $70,000 and $75,000 with some miles on them. And these are bulletproof cars. They're considered extremely reliable. It's extremely fun, and for that cheap, there's not another car in the market I can think of in that price point that really makes as much sense if this is what you want. If you want a grand touring car that you can get around and have fun, it still has lots of power, a beautiful note to it, and its handling is excellent. This is going to be hard to beat in the sub $100,000 price point. Now, yes, again, if you want a true sports car where it's sports car at all costs, this isn't going to be the car for you. But if you want to be a little bit more comfortable, this is the car. This is excellent. I mean, I'm enjoying this tremendously. So the ultimate question, of course, with this car is it a real Ferrari? And my God, yes, it is. It still has that Ferrari soul, that Ferrari sound, the Ferrari feeling, the handling. It's excellent. It's softened up just a touch, but it's enough that this is amazing. This is going to outperform most of the Ferraris made up until the mid-2000s. This thing is fast and fun and cheap. And best of all, by buying it on the used market in the sub $100,000 price point, it's not going to devalue it that much more. It can't. It's just too good a car. It's still a Ferrari. It still has the Cavalinos on it. It still has the prancing horse heritage. It's an excellent car. I love it. I am enjoying this car tremendously. Alright, we'll go one more time. Find anything to complain about that's enough to make you not want to buy a car like this. I suppose the only thing I think of is if you really, really want a mid-engine car, the characteristics of the mid-engine cars are a little bit different. So I have been asked by people before, should I get a F430 or a California or a whatever or a California, and I think these are amazing cars. This is an amazing car. You're not going to be disappointed with it. I think you just have to drive one to see if you like the way it feels compared to the way that the mid-engine sports cars feel. It's not the same feeling. It drives just a little bit more sluggish, just a little bit more comfortable, but it drives phenomenally well. Is it a girly car? No. Is it a true Ferrari? Absolutely. It drives just like a real Ferrari. It handles very well. It's a bit weighty. It is a bigger car. It's got 4,000 pounds to heave around, but it's got plenty of torque, plenty of power, and it certainly drives very well. The steering is tight. It feels like a Ferrari. It's just kind of like a baby Ferrari. It's just not quite all the way balls to the wall, 80% balls to the wall, which is plenty for most people. The thing is, I would suspect most people are going to be tremendously happy with a car like this. They don't need to necessarily go to the caliber of a 458 or even crazier, because that's almost too much for most people. You're not driving these cars to their limits all that often, and so when you're driving this sort of car, it's going to be really pleasant and get you around and do a lot of fun stuff. At the sub $100,000 price point, which some of these cars are at, this is effectively like the Porsche 996 of the Ferrari world. It's just kind of unloved because of a few styling cues that they got wrong, like the weird taillights. And some people say that the front nose of this looks a bit Maserati-ish or whatever. It's big fish kind of look, but it's a fantastic car and it's excellently priced. And it's still got a Ferrari engine and Ferrari transmission and Ferrari suspension. And it's got the Ferrari interior and Ferrari build. So it just, yeah, you're getting a lot for your money at that point. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. Those things do help out my channel, so I do appreciate when you guys do those things. Thank you so much to those of you that do. Also, we're gonna be hitting 50,000 subscribers very soon. When we do, I'm gonna be giving away that clock there on my wall. It's pretty easy to enter. All you have to do is go to my website, sign up for my email list, or buy some of my merch. If you do those things, or if you sign up as a member of my channel, you're gonna be automatically entered to win once I hit 50,000 subscribers. So thank you to all of you that do that. I do appreciate that tremendously. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for watching. We got a lot of car stuff coming away. You guys are gonna stay tuned. Oh yeah, Meg's gonna review this thing next. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be sweet.